So with the official release of Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo finally out, there is nothing but mixed feelings throughout the entire community. I am more than excited to go ahead and get into this entire chapter breakdown with you guys, because to be completely honest with you, while I see both sides of the argument, I can definitely see some of the great potential there is in this series to not only expand upon the lore, but also give us part of the Jujutsu Kaisen content that we have always wanted and now finally have the chance to have. So before we go ahead and get started into the entire chapter breakdown, what I do want to go ahead and mention is that while I will be doing most of the mainline chapter streams on this channel, if you are interested in these chapter summaries where I further break down every piece of lore and bit of information that we can drag out of these chapters, definitely subscribe to the second channel, because that's where all of these will be posted from this point on. Let's jump right into it. Make sure you hit that hype button, like button, and real quick, a word from our sponsor, Gamer Supps. Listen, if you need an energy drink that's gonna keep you going throughout the day while also not making you crash, and at the same time it's giving you a bunch of vitamins like C, D, and even some nootropics to keep you energized, that's Gamer Supps for you. The reason why they're super cool is because not only if you've never tried them before, they'll give you a free sample if you use my code NOOP, they'll also just give you 10% off your order if you use the code anyway. Try some flavors from your favorite anime like JoJo's or Darling in the Franxx. Again, use my link in the description or code NOOP for 10% off your order, or if you're a new customer, go get some free samples on me and I guarantee you you'll be buying some more. Thank you Gamer Supps for sponsoring the channel. So first things first, let's address the elephant in the room. Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo introduces an alien species known as the Sumerians, and they are inhabiting a mothership known as the Nonax that has nearly 50,000 aliens on it that are seeking sanctuary as refugees onto Earth. This species of alien that are on their way has actually realized that they share powers with the people of Japan, i.e. cursed energy and Jujutsu sorcery. However, as we'll stand to see, this could genuinely mean multiple different things. A lot of people are worried that this is the new Boruto and we are just going down the alien line like Dragon Ball and Naruto did. However, I think Gege Akutami is taking this in a very specifically interesting way. We right now don't have any clarification that they are the originators of cursed energy on this planet. We do see a being that looks like Tengen, and with how deformed and twisted Sukuna's birth was, or the fact as to why he was so strong compared to everyone else, it's not out of line to make that assumption and say Sukuna, Tengen, maybe even Kenjaku may have been involved with this ancient race of aliens, especially since all of these characters randomly showed up in the Nara or Heian period without any explanation. Why I think this could go an interesting route, and why I think Gege did decide to take the alien side of the story this way, it opens the door for a lot of interesting ideas that Gege can explore that he always planned to from the very beginning. If you're like me and you've been around the series for a very long time, part of the main appeal of Jujutsu Kaisen was the cursed spirits. And with not a single cursed spirit in sight in this chapter, a lot of people are worried that the aliens are going to take center place and completely replace what they loved about Jujutsu Kaisen in the first place. But if you really think about it and you listen to what's being said in this chapter, since the culling game has ended and sorcerers like Itadori Yuji and Satoru Gojo have come and went, sorcerers have been on an overall decline completely. Now, this isn't anything new. After the Heian era, you can even see with the Date period where Kashimo was unable to find good fights and would have had to travel the entire country to potentially have a good fight with Ishigori Ryu. Right before Jujutsu Kaisen's main series begins and Gojo Satoru comes on the scene, sorcerers, cursed spirits, and everything were on an overall decline due to not just an era of peace, but an era where the Jujutsu higher-ups were doing their best to conserve the traditional aspect of Jujutsu society. We see this with characters like Hikari getting kicked out of the school, with Panda explaining how traditional curse techniques like Nobara's or Kirara Hoshi's are much more prideful for the Jujutsu higher-ups than out of left field and random curse techniques. Even Naobito's Zenin was almost passed over for head of the Zenin clan because his projection sorcery was seen as a stain on the great clans. So you really see how sorcerers were not only held back, but how that had an effect on the overall society that Jujutsu Kaisen was building. And then when a character like Gojo, whose entire ideal revolved around building the next generation to surpass what these higher-ups deemed as the peak of Jujutsu, this new generation did the best they could to change the world around them. And by stopping the culling game, they essentially succeeded. However, one generation is not enough to fix the world, and unfortunately, despite the amount of work that Yuta Okotsu, Maki Zenin, even other characters I imagine like Fushiguro Megami, Itadori Yuji himself, all of these people put into society to change the world, the moment that Maki Zenin and Yuta Okotsu died, the Gojo clan immediately began taking steps to return to traditionalism and immediately started throwing around their power and their clan's name to make decisions against other people's interests. Yuta, however, did leave his cursed ring, one of his most treasured items, to Yuka because she was a grandpa's girl. They got along the best between her and the rest of her family, and she takes the most after Yuta because her brother Tsurugi, on the other hand, had the best possible relationship and closest connection with their grandmother Maki, and conveniently ends up being that Yuka is a full-fledged sorcerer that's not only able to make use of cursed energy. Tsurugi, taking after his grandmother, has no cursed energy, but also in some pages of this chapter it's said that he has a little bit of cursed energy, so it's not completely clear as of yet. I think we might need more clarification. Tsurugi's main character ideal is he wants to prove that he does not need the ring. His mother says that he needs the ring because she doesn't feel that he is strong enough without cursed energy to carry on and be a sorcerer, which is ironic considering she would have been either the daughter-in-law, which is more likely, or overall daughter of Maki, one of the most powerful sorcerers of all time that had no cursed energy either. Due to this complete denial of what Maki stood for, his pledge is to prove that he is strong enough to be a sorcerer without the ring, and vice versa. Yuka's goal is to prove that she can be a strong sorcerer so that way she can prove she deserves the ring more than Tsurugi does. Both of them working to be the best possible sorcerers they can be in their own separate ways. And because of that, it seems to me that these two characters are the perfect candidates in this world where we know sorcerers have become even weaker after the culling game has ended. As I mentioned earlier, part of the main reason people enjoyed this series was the fact that her spirits were a thing, and we never really got to spend much time on missions exercising curses and seeing their effect on the world. We really just pushed right to the main story. Whether or not curse spirits are in this world, what the series does by downgrading the sorcerers that are present and having no one be on the level of Satoru Gojo or Yuji, these aliens that are said to present a special grade incident as problematic as the reawakening of Ryomen Sukuna will pose a significant threat to everyone involved. It's safe to say that Tsurugi and Yuka having ideals that will push them past the average generation of sorcery, there's a reason that these two characters will be the main focus of the story, because these two characters may just be the only people available that will be able to break the limits of sorcery that have been put upon them. Everyone being on the weaker side also allows the more basic types of sorcery to be re-explored completely. Tsurugi being able to make use of a curse tool and have curse tools be a much larger side of the story, and being able to use new shadow style and other techniques. We can see so much out of Tsurugi that wasn't really given the spotlight in the main series. The curse user that we are dealing with is using talismans to help create his barrier. Part of the Jujutsu Kaisen light novels that I enjoyed, at least, if you've never read them, I suggest you check them out, is because we get to see some of these missions with these curse users that have to make use of sorcery the best way they can to commit their crimes. There's a story of Nobara Kugasaki and Inumaki Toge getting attacked by another cursed speech user who has to fill an entire room with talismans to power up his level of cursed speech because it's not the same strain as the mainline Inumaki family. And the way that we see this curse user not only do his best to fight using the talismans, but we also see him have a contingency plan where he's going to teleport all of the kids away because he already has a buyer. It's very interesting to me to see how we get to explore more of the baseline Jujutsu world as opposed to getting an amazing curse technique that takes full focus over the broad, smaller, and more simple versions of sorcery. On top of this, we're also going deep into areas of the story that were just completely and outright dropped from earlier, because one of the biggest complaints you would have always heard about the end of Jujutsu Kaisen is that Kenjaku visiting all of the countries and all of the different governments to set up the military going into the culling game ultimately went nowhere after the Sukuna fight was done. And sure, they make reference that they have to go save the sorcerers that were kidnapped, but other than that, a major country like Japan was invaded by multiple different countries' militaries in order to kidnap their sorcerers and their citizens for energy resources. That politically held no responsibility or issue in the Jujutsu Kaisen narrative, at least until Modulo, where we see a whole treaty needed to be signed in order to inform the entire world of not just the existence existence of cursed energy, but make sure sorcery and things like that were taken into account in worldwide decisions. Because people know that Japanese citizens can literally be trafficked in order to be used as a constant energy source, humans are being trafficked, and there is an entire underground criminal world revolving around that. I also love that the aliens coming into this story are completely changing everything up entirely, because part of the main goal of our curse user in this chapter is he wants to make as many sales as he possibly can now that aliens are showing up. Because again, we're at such a low level of sorcery, these aliens all showing up are going to completely kill the energy market for humans, because the aliens will be the new hot commodity. If all of those aliens are 10 times stronger than all of us humans right now, there's not going to be any way that we can kidnap them. So this entire trafficking business is coming to an end. The last major detail of this chapter is, of course, Marulu Vol Yelvori, who is the resident alien who will be helping us on our journey. Because we signed a treaty with the entire world about the existence of cursed energy, we have supposedly, in the last 68 years, been dealing with things like aliens and the supernatural and paranormal. Jujutsu Society is more than ready to cooperate and allow this alien race to descend and potentially immigrate amongst us. However, as the curse user probably correctly deduces, these overpowered aliens are going to realize their superiority and most likely will start an all-out war and start taking over the world. There may be evil aliens that are now potentially the power of one finger, two finger, potentially multiple fingers of Sukuna. I'm going to imagine these new alien beings are just going to serve as new potential ways to explore what curses could have been. We're just gonna have to wait and see where this all goes, because Maru, after taking his bandage off and revealing his third eye, immediately knocks out the curse user. Maru's curse technique also allows him to bring someone and the world into complete harmony, which will allow them to find someone that is an equal match for them. It's unclear how exactly Maru's curse technique continually works from here. As we go forward into these chapters, I'm assuming we will just learn more and more about this. Part of the reason that I think this chapter seemed very jarring for people, the pacing seemed a little off and the dialogue seemed a little weird, is because we have already explored the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. We already know everything we need to learn about this world. So instead, we can skip through most of the introductory chapter. Let's skip through all of the explanations. Let's just get into this character is this way, this character is this way, this is the way the world is now, and this is the mission we're on, and let's dive right into it. And if the next chapter immediately picks up the pace and gets into moving the story along, because again, this story will only be about 3 volumes, then I believe instead of taking time to let everything breathe and fully flesh itself out, I think we're just going to be diving right into this story that is in the new Jujutsu Kaisen world. Let me know your thoughts down below. This chapter as an introduction to the world is amazing for me, and I am very interested to see where everything goes, as well as where these characters are able to be taken. If Gege is able to explore a lot of the aspects of Jujutsu that fell into the background of the major narrative of Jujutsu Kaisen, the main series, something tells me a lot of the people that are hating this at the moment are going to be loving this in the next couple of chapters, in the next couple of weeks. Hit that like button, hit that hype button if you are excited to get into this story just like I am. And again, if you want to continue on this Jujutsu Kaisen modulo journey with me, all of these next future weekly reviews and summaries will be on the second channel. You can go ahead and subscribe to it here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.